On her birthday night, Laura woke up with a strange wooden comb in her hand and a clump of hair that no one knew about on her pillow. Laura had just turned 18, and in her bedroom, on her bed, were birthday presents from her friends. On that special day, she received a mysterious gift. A beautiful wooden comb with no note or sender's name. Laura was immediately drawn to the comb. That night, before going to bed, Laura happily tried out the comb she had been given to comb her hair. She didn't notice a few strands of hair falling on her shoulders and the floor. But then, Laura began to feel someone standing behind her. The comb seemed to slide smoothly through her hair, as if covered with an invisible layer of oil. But it felt too cold. More and more hair fell out, and terror gradually engulfed her. She heard a cold breath right at the back of her neck. More and more hair fell out, and terror gradually engulfed her. Laura tried to put the comb down, but the invisible hands pulled the comb back. Something was brushing her hair, slowly, steadily. Her hands no longer moved of their own volition. The face in the mirror had transformed into a girl with long black hair. It was Evelyn, the girl Laura had once made fun of because she had bad hair.
You should shave your head. You always look dirty.
The whole class burst into laughter. Evelyn was silent, her face red, her eyes filled with tears. 3 days later, Evelyn jumped from the 4th floor, her hair flying before hitting the cold cement floor. Now she was back with a vengeance. The comb in Laura's hand was red, her hair stained with blood. Each stroke was like a deep cut into her memory and her flesh. Her hair and scalp were pulled out in clumps. In the mirror, Evelyn stood behind her, bald, her skin torn, smiling silently.
Look, we're the same now. You can't laugh at me anymore.
Laura screamed but made no sound. Her hands continued to scratch. The comb broke in two, but she still used her nails to comb her hair. Her hair was gone. Her head was bare. Blood was flowing. Laura laughed hysterically, but it was no longer her voice. The next morning, she sat motionless in a pool of dried blood. Her eyes staring blankly. She was alive, but she was just quietly combing her bald scalp.
Ethan sat in the dark room, staring at his laptop screen. On it, a girl sat motionless in the shadows. Suddenly, the girl displayed a crazed expression, an image that haunted Ethan forever. Ethan was a famous writer, known for his spine-chilling horror stories. Lately, however, his works were criticized for being outdated and lacking originality. The pressure from readers and the constant urging from his publisher had worn him down. Every night, Ethan sat in front of his laptop until dawn, reading through hundreds of terrifying tales, but none of them felt fresh or disturbing enough to stir anything in him. That night, around 2 a.m., his bloodshot eyes landed on a dark website. There were red letters on a black background with an enticing title, Untold Secrets, and a single button in the bottom left corner of the screen. View. Curious, Ethan clicked on it. The screen lit up with a series of brutal images of young girls being tortured. They looked like they had been taken by the very perpetrators themselves. The further he scrolled, the more enraged he became at the cruelty of the crimes. The painful expressions on the girls' faces felt like they were tearing his insides apart. When Ethan reached the final page, it was no longer images. It was a video. A thin, disheveled girl sat still in a dark room. She was covered in blood, her clothes torn to shreds. No one could tell how long she had been tortured. Suddenly, she slowly raised her head, her face covered in fresh, bleeding scratch marks. She stared straight into the camera and smiled, an eerie, twisted smile, as if she was smiling at Ethan. A chill ran down his spine. The screen glitched suddenly, and the lights in Ethan's room began to flicker. He tried to check his laptop, but the mouse no longer moved. The keyboard was frozen. He couldn't shut it down. The screen lit up again. Now the girl's face was pressed close to the camera. Before Ethan could react, her hand reached out from the screen and wrapped tightly around his neck. She crawled out of the screen entirely, her head tilted unnaturally to one side, her smile grotesque. Ethan thrashed wildly, his vision blurring, the air draining from his lungs. Then suddenly, Ethan jolted awake at his desk. It had all been a dream. The laptop screen was still playing the video of the girl sitting silently in the chair. He was about to shut the laptop when the screen suddenly switched to webcam mode. Startled, he saw himself on the screen, his pale face clearly visible. Then, behind him, the girl stood, smiling her twisted smile at him.
No, it can't be. Why is she here?
Before he could react, her pale hand reached up and twisted his neck. A few days later, the police found Ethan's body slumped over his desk. The computer was still on, displaying a black screen with red text, untold secrets, and a single word in the corner, view. A curious officer clicked on it. The screen showed a video of a girl smiling eerily at him.
I recently moved into an old apartment building in Vienna. Though the infrastructure is a bit run down, I didn't mind too much. It's quiet here, which matters to me. I'm a writer. My work is sensitive to noise. It easily breaks my thought flow. The apartment next to mine belongs to Elisa, a very friendly single mother. Her son, Lucas, is around 8 years old, well-mannered and polite. At the end of the hallway lives Konrad Weiss, a man in his late 20s, tall and thin, with hair that always covers his face. No one knows what he does for a living. He keeps to himself, rarely speaks to anyone. We only ever spoke once a few days ago. It was the night of a blood moon. I went out onto the communal balcony to get a good view and snap some photos. As I raised my phone to capture the moon, I noticed Konrad had appeared in the corner of my frame, startling me a bit. It was the first time I'd seen him outside. So he likes blood moons too. He looked unwound, leaning against the railing, holding a glass filled with a deep red liquid that shimmered under the moonlight. A cold, metallic scent drifted past me on the breeze that chilled down my spine. Not wanting to be awkward, I walked over and joked, "Red wine under the moonlight? You're more sophisticated than I expected."
It's not wine. But yes, the moon pairs nicely with it.
I had no idea what he meant. I just forced a chuckle and went back inside without another word. A few weeks after I moved in, the city was shaken by a string of strange deaths. Cats and dogs were found in dark alleys, completely drained of blood, their bodies shriveled. Then it was people. 3 victims in 1 week, all found inside their own homes. No signs of forced entry. The media called it the Vienna Bite. Theories range from a deranged killer to cult rituals. I felt a creeping fear. That night, I made sure my door was securely locked before heading to bed. But around midnight, I heard it. The faint, slow sound of someone turning my doorknob. The metal handle twisted ever so slightly. then stopped. I couldn't sleep at all after that. The next morning, I told Elisa what happened. She didn't believe me. She just gave me a nervous laugh and said I was letting the news get to me, imagining things. I wasn't so sure. My instincts told me otherwise. And that very day, Lucas went missing. Eliza had stepped out without locking the door, leaving Lucas at home alone. When she returned, he was gone. She called the police immediately.
It's my fault. I should have watched him more carefully. Do you think he was taken and drained like the others?
Drained? Something stirred in my gut. When the police arrived, I told them to check Conrad's apartment. They broke down the door, and what we saw was a glimpse of hell. Dozens of blood bags, jars of organs floating in strange fluids, a notebook filled with detailed entries on each victim, and in the center of the room, a bed. Lucas was there, unconscious but alive. His mouth was taped shut, his wrists and ankles bound. Thank God he was still breathing. In the inner room, they found Conrad. He was asleep, standing upright in a coffin, arms folded across his chest. Conrad was arrested. He showed no remorse. He was diagnosed with paranoid delusions. He claimed to be a vampire, said he needed to consume blood to prevent his body from decaying. He had killed others before moving to our area. Eventually, he was sentenced to life in prison. It's a fitting end. After that, Lucas suffered serious psychological trauma. Elisa decided to move away to get better care for him. He stopped talking to me the way he used to. His eyes seemed deep, hollow. I stayed behind, still living here, and still writing. But now and then, around 3 a.m., I swear I hear the slow, deliberate turn of a doorknob.
Have you ever had hair extensions? My friend tried it once, and it became her nightmare. This is Lucy, my best friend. Since that incident, she never dared to grow her hair long again. The story began when we were in our sophomore year of university. One day, Lucy and I were walking down the street when we were drawn to a small hair salon. The atmosphere inside gave me an inexplicable sense of gloom. The walls were adorned with photos of many girls sporting different hairstyles. My eyes stopped on a picture of a girl with unevenly chopped short hair, smiling at me. I was horrified and stepped closer to stare at it.
What's wrong?
I pointed at the picture for Lucy to see. But when I looked again, it was just a girl with a neat short haircut.
Those are all our former customers. You can also choose a style like theirs.
Their hair looks so beautiful and natural.
Of course, all the wigs here are made from real hair. You can check the samples over here.
She led us to a shelf displaying various wigs.
Sophia, this really is real hair. It feels completely different from the ones in other salons.
She carefully browsed through the options before deciding on a long, silky wig. As I touched the wig Lucy had chosen, I suddenly felt a chill run down my spine. A faint yet distinct smell of blood mixed with perfume wafted into my nose. I was about to warn Lucy, but the salon owner quickly ushered her into a chair to begin the extension process. That night, after getting the extensions, Lucy started having strange dreams. In her dreams, she saw many people standing at the foot of her bed, repeatedly whispering. Suddenly, a girl rushed toward her, holding a pair of scissors and frantically cutting Lucy's hair.
Give me back my hair. Give me back my hair.
The nightmares kept repeating, leaving Lucy increasingly terrified. Many nights, she felt as if someone was yanking her hair from behind, even though she was alone. One day, I visited Lucy's place and found her sitting in front of the mirror, brushing her hair repeatedly. With every stroke of the brush, strands of hair kept falling onto the floor. Lucy, why is your hair falling out so much?
It's not. I feel like I have even more hair now.
Look at the floor! Only then did Lucy panic. She ran her fingers through her hair and a large chunk fell out, tangling in her hand. She turned to the mirror, horrified to see her hair in uneven patches, some short, some long. A chill ran down my spine. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The next morning, we rushed back to the salon to have the extensions removed. But when we arrived, we were stunned. The place was crowded with people, gathered to witness something shocking. Excuse me, what's going on here?
I heard the owner of the salon kidnapped people, cut their hair to sell, and then killed them.
At that moment, the police escorted the salon owner out of the shop. She flinched slightly when she saw us, then quickly averted her gaze. As the crowd gradually dispersed, I looked into the shop and was horrified to see my own picture hanging on the wall. But the photo had been altered. Someone had deliberately changed Lucy's face. Lucy, when did you take this picture?
I never took any photos here.
After that day, Lucy's behavior changed drastically. She would sit blankly in front of the mirror, then suddenly grab a pair of scissors and frantically chop off her own hair. Lucy now looked exactly like the shadowy figures she had described from her nightmares. From that moment on, I never saw her grow her hair long again. Though many years have passed, whenever we talk about it, we can't help but shudder.